All right, news break coming in. Ukrainian armed forces have claimed to have captured 6 new tanks in a battle near Kharkiv. Soon they will be used for their intended purpose. Russian airborne forces have landed in Ukraine's second biggest city, triggering immediate clashes in the streets of Kharkiv, is what we are getting to understand after almost a week since it began its invasion. Moscow is now attempting to capture its first major Ukrainian city. I want to cut across immediately to my colleague Rajesh Pawar, who's been getting us a minute-to-minute update right now coming in from Ukraine. Rajesh, I hope you're safe. The latest news coming in, Rajesh, is the fact that Russian airborne paratroopers landing in Ukraine, street fights now breaking out. How much truth in that? And exactly what is going down? What are the numbers of these paratroopers? It's easy for Russia to do that. It's a border city, Kharkiv.
Look, as far as my information is concerned, there's a large-scale military operation going on in Kharkiv now, and Russian troops are almost in control of the city. There is still fighting going on in the pockets of the city, but more or less, Russian army is in control of Kharkiv, and it's a matter of time now, maybe minutes before Kharkiv is under total control of the Russian army, though a little bit of fighting in some pockets might still continue. Over to you.
That's big news, Rajesh. You're saying your sources are telling you that Kharkiv could fall any time now?
Yes, Kharkiv, it's a matter of minutes, if not hours, that it will fall anytime, and it will be in full control of Russian army. It's just news is awaited now, anytime.
Rajesh, the kind of encirclement of Kharkiv, is visible as well. The kind of shelling that has taken place in the city, the kind of besiegement from the Russian side with attacks by cruise missiles. This is incredible what you're saying. You're saying the city could fall to Russian forces in a matter of hours.
Look, the invasion was launched almost 48 hours before, and it was a full-scale invasion with the full might of the Russian army, and that is the reason that it could not withstand for so long. And the only reason that Kharkiv did not fall earlier was because there was a lot of resistance from civil militia, which are pro-Ukrainian and which gave a great fight over there, which was not expected by the Russians. Otherwise, Kharkiv would have fallen much earlier, though it is still not fully under Russian control. But what I'm getting to hear is it is a matter of time now before the whole city is completely under the control and occupation of Russian armed forces.
The Russian army, has suffered some damage, at least as per the, the videos that have been, been coming out from the outskirts of Kharkiv suggest that they've suffered some damage. As you've been rightly pointing out, one can never confirm the claims and the counterclaims on either side amidst the fog of war. But there has been some pretty fearsome fighting and some damage that has been suffered by the Russian side as well. Can you hear the firing?
Can you hear the firing right now?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Shots, can you see? They're very close. They're in the center, city center of Kyiv right now. It's in very close. They're just about a kilometer away, right in the city center of Kyiv right now. Okay, please continue.
Air raid siren, Rajesh?
No, it was firing. It was firing probably by a rifle, probably. Most likely it was a firing by a rifle, but I could make out from the noise. And it was just about a kilometer away, and it was right in the city center, in the center of Kyiv. Anyway, please continue with your questions.
Yeah, so I was asking you about the damage that has been suffered by the Russian forces on the outskirts of Kharkiv. They have suffered some damage, but it appears that reinforcements are pretty steady. The Russians clearly have a lot more weaponry and tanks and armored vehicles to bring to the fight there.
Look, it was a full-scale invasion by the Russian army on Kharkiv, and they have succeeded in neutralizing most of the elements which were of Ukrainian army or pro-Ukrainian army. They must have suffered casualties. I'm not sure how much, though the Ukrainian president has claimed that 6,000 Russian soldiers have been killed. I cannot verify these claims from any of my sources or any information I'm getting as of now. Over to you, Shiv.
Rajesh, if you're saying that the resistance right now in Kharkiv is primarily from the civilian militia, then things could go out of hand where the civilian population of Kharkiv is concerned.
Well, I don't think so, because see, you must understand that Kharkiv is the biggest city, second biggest city of Ukraine, and with the highest percentage of Russian-speaking people. People who speak the same language as Russians, are the same ethnic stock, and are very sympathetic towards Russian cause. The thing we need to distinguish one thing here. There's a distinction between people who support Russia and people who are opposed to Putin. There are people who really support Russia, but they are not so much in favor of Putin. That is also a reality here.
All right, and these are the people who've taken up arms against Russia, because right now what we're getting to understand, in terms of reports, the stuff that you're also bringing out and reporting, Rajesh, is street clashes. This could get very bloody, because the Russians say that the Ukraine is using the citizens as human shields, but they are taking up arms.
Look, as I have been saying earlier, in this war, the most important element is the psychological element and the information warfare. I have been reiterating that information warfare is more important and will be more decisive in this war than the military element. And America, NATO, and Ukrainian president seems to be winning this information war. There was not so much of support for Zelensky and to fight against Russia just about a week back, but things have changed dramatically over 4 days when the pictures of dead children, injured children, civilians have been streaming all across Ukraine, and it has turned the tide. And America, as of now, or the NATO, totally controls the information around the world. Even Indian media, most of it is reporting what they are learning from the Western media. So it's entirely American narrative which is being played around the world right now, and there's no one who can listen to the Russian narrative. And what is important is Zelensky can still speak to his supporters in Russia who are protesting in many cities against the war. They can hear him, but nobody can hear Putin, what he says, or any Russian leader says here in Ukraine, because there's a total blackout of information coming out of Russia.
A lot of Indian media, depending on Western media and second-hand sources, we of course have people like you on the ground to give us a first-hand view of what's going on. That's the reason also why India Today is the most watched channel right through the world's biggest story. People aren't even watching many of the Western channels. They tuned into India Today's coverage because of voices and reporting like yours, Rajesh. You're talking about the battle of perceptions. There has been a lot of misinformation on both sides, but you're sensing that the battle of perception at this point of time is being won by the Ukrainians because they've got NATO, they've got the US on their side. That battle of perception for now is on their, is with the Ukrainians. Your sense of that, Rajesh?
Shiv, I won't say Ukrainians because they are the victims, I would say.
Yeah.
They're the people who will die, people who will suffer, whose country will be destroyed.
And they are.
I think this battle is being won by America and NATO. Google is controlled by Google, YouTube, Meta, Facebook, Instagram. Everything is controlled by the Americans. And these are the biggest sources of information today. And American media has been totally obliterated, totally blacked out from all these sources. And this war is, at least the information part of it, has been won by America, and it has turned the tide in this war. Otherwise, probably by now, Ukraine would have fallen.
Rajesh, we're going to go into a break, but I'm going to ask you one quick question before that. The whole talk and the push by the Indian government to try and open a diplomatic safe passage channel through Russia for our students who are stuck in Kharkiv, how plausible is that? Because that is where the maximum boots on ground for Russia, the artillery is actually coming in from.
Look, I have been in touch with many students in Kharkiv and in Kyiv, and good news is most of them have been able to go. There are hardly any students left in Kyiv now, except for 2-3 of them. Everybody has left Kyiv, but in Kharkiv, still there are about 500 to 600 Indian students stuck there, though I helped a few of them in the morning today to reach the train station and leave Kharkiv. What I've got to hear from the sources is that Putin has also condoled the death of the Indian student who has died there, just like the European Union did. And there are chances that Russia may provide a safe passage to Indian students to leave the city. I believe there has been some negotiations going on in this regard, and Russia has promised that they will help as much as they can in making sure that these Indian students either via Moscow or maybe allowed to go to West, will be able to leave Kharkiv safely. Over to you.
There are over 3,500 students still in Indian students still in Kharkiv at this point of time. You're absolutely right, Rajesh. The Russian ambassador designate to India, Denis, has just spoken to India today, in fact, and he has confirmed that Russia has formally received a request to provide safe passage to Indians from Kharkiv and elsewhere across the Russian route. Is this something that the Indian embassy is following up on the ground? The reason I'm asking you is because there's a lot of lack of clarity for students, Indian students in Kharkiv right now, while the situation is deteriorating.
Look, I have been appreciating the role of Indian embassy here a lot, but since yesterday I've tried very hard to get in touch with the embassy, and even to find a number of ambassadors is almost impossible now. I have been trying to help these students on my own, and today morning I've been guiding them through local sources, through local friends, about how to reach the train station. Students have walked on foot almost 15 kilometers to reach the Vokzal train station so that they could leave. But fortunately, today almost everybody from Kyiv and a large number of students from Kharkiv could leave towards west out of Kharkiv, and remaining one, all those are still stuck. I believe if with Russian help, they can be evacuated towards Moscow. Over to you.
All right. One big thing, Rajesh, that is coming out is a lot of students who tried to make their way to train stations are unable to actually board, because Ukrainians are being given preferences, and right now to disseminate that kind of information that they should possibly try and get to a railway station or to a train station, could be counterproductive.
Look, you are absolutely right that a lot of them have not been allowed to board the train. If you remember yesterday, I made an appeal on both Ashik and here today when about 30 to 40 Indian students were stuck on Kharkiv train station and were not allowed to board, that if anybody from the embassy or anybody from Minister of External Affairs is listening to me, can help these students. They were in a state of panic and were very scared. This is happening, and there have been instances of Ukrainian police or militia, whoever is there, asking for bribes for them to let inside the train, and some of them have been initially denied to board the train, but eventually all of them have been able to board and leave Kharkiv train station and Kyiv train station. Over to you.
All right, Rajesh, we're going to continue to come back to you. Rajesh is reporting from Kyiv. He's getting our viewers the very latest. We're going to continue to get back to Rajesh Pawar. Shiv, that's the big question right now, because it's so sensitive, and there are a lot of worried parents who are tuning into this broadcast and trying to grab on to each and every word in which they could help possibly their child who's stuck in Kharkiv in a bunker in a dormitory right now. But I would reckon the best advice right now that we can give, and it's limited, is that you stick where you are till you are contacted by a credible source or the Indian embassy, which makes sure that you have a passage out. It's best not to move out, especially at this time.
You couldn't have said it better, Preeti. It's very important for them to stay where they are. That is, in fact, the advisory that the Indian embassy has also put out, especially in the city of Kharkiv. And, as you know, since yesterday around this time when news broke about Naveen Shekharappa's tragic demise, that Indian student there, everything has become exponentially more, emergent and dangerous. So students themselves don't want to venture out. It's very difficult for them to actually get out of Kharkiv. They're facing a lot of logistical issues. There's a lot of, discrimination against Indians, with Ukrainians and whites being given priority. That's, the wartime biases and discrimination coming to the fore. So right now, clarity is, in short supply in Kharkiv. That's, apart from food and water, which is running out, predictability, clarity is another thing that's rapidly running out. And remember, as things become more destructive, more volatile, as one building after another is attacked in Kharkiv, the pressure is going to be on the Indian government and the Indian government alone to actually ensure that something can be done. Because right now, the Ukrainian government is spread very thin. The Ukrainian military is spread very thin. I don't think they've got the capacity to ensure safe passage, Preeti, for any students, leave alone just Indian students in Kharkiv. And that's the reason why the onus right now can't be placed at President Zelensky's door. This is something that the Indian government will have to, work out. And that's why that big meeting yesterday by the Prime Minister, today that request going across to the Russian embassy saying, guys, listen, you are 40 kilometers away from Kharkiv. You need to find safe passage. And the Russian ambassador designate now also saying that they're going to investigate the Indian student's death, Preeti. All of these suggest that India today has pushed the Russia button. Hopefully it will lead to something because time is rapidly running out.
Well, you're right, Deshav, you couldn't have put it better. But, if there's one message that we want to give to the students or the parents of students who are tuning in, trying to get an information. Number one, we're going to give you verified information. And number two, hang in there. Hang in there because there will be a breakthrough. There has to be a breakthrough. There are way too many of Indian students who are stuck there, 3,000 and over. And right now the onus is on the Indian government. The Indian government has initiated it right now in terms of reaching out to Russia because it's a symbiotic relationship after all. If India is going to continue not to vote at UNSC, then the give back possibly should be right now safe passage or a diplomatic channel through Russia for our students who are stuck there. With that, we're going to take a quick break. You do stay with us. Shiv and I'll be right back.